This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. Come on in, come on in. Today, we're going to be talking about some breaking news in the Bryan Kohberger case. So come on in. Thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. We have some new information. His WSU professor has broken his silence, and he has some things to say. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to lead with that. So come on in, tell me where you're from, what country, what city, what state. We're also going to be talking about the recording that my head mod NJAS found. It's inside looking account, and I want your opinion if you think this is Bryan Kohberger or not. We're also going to look at video of the Elantra being processed. And then there is body cam footage, which you guys may have already seen. We'll do that at the very end. But as a Reporter Room community, we haven't looked at it yet, but we'll do that at the end in case some of you guys have seen it. So if you're just joining me, my name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed to Reporter Room, well, it's free, and it helps me out a lot. A lot. Join the Reporter Room family, like, share, and leave a comment. Liking lets the YouTube algorithm know that I am doing a good job. And I just want to say that this video is for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised. And I want to say a big thank you to our subscribers, our mods, and our channel members. We are going to also be celebrating today because we got to 50,000 subscribers, you guys. So thank you so much for all your wonderful help. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me pull this up first. And we'll get started with this. And then we're going to listen to the recording right after this. We're going to start with the WSU professor, though. So come on in. Tell me where you're from. So we have breaking news in this case. And then we're going to listen to this recording that our head mod NJAS found to see if this is Bryan Kohberger. Is to see once and for all, can we prove that this is Bryan Kohberger? Okay, so John Schneider, who's on the right. So it's this guy right here with the beer. Let me make sure I'm showing you guys what I'm looking at. Yeah, okay. So John, and we're going to look at the car too, because that got we have pictures of BK's car when law enforcement got it, when they were processing the car. So this is John Schneider. This is the professor that Bryan Kohberger got into an altercation with. And then he sat down at his local watering hole with his drinking buddy, Brad Pierce, who wrote this article. So this is Brad Pierce wrote this. And so he is speaking out on the Bryan Kohberger case. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go through this, but we don't need to have this up. Let me put this up instead. And I need the car processing photo. Yeah, let's do that one. So we're going to look at the Hyundai Elantra together in a few minutes, but let me just put Bryan Kohberger up. Just in case somebody comes by and they're like, what is she talking about? Thank you so much. And I feel like we can celebrate more on this one. I didn't want to celebrate during, a missing baby. I mean, just like horrifying to think about. So I didn't want to celebrate on that one. It just didn't feel appropriate, but we will celebrate at the end of this, getting to the 50K milestone, because I could not have gotten here if it wasn't for you. And with the holidays coming up, please consider subscribing. We have a really tight, kind and caring group here, a true crime group here on Reporter Room, and we would love to have you as part of the Reporter Room family. We also have a Facebook group too. It's got around 1,000 people in there, very tight. A lot of us have been in there together for a couple of years. We're really close. Really loving people. So anyway, if you're watching, come on up and talk to me in the top chat. So let's talk about John Schneider, and then we're going to look at video of the Hyundai Elantra being processed. Body cam footage, we'll do that at the end because some of you may have seen it, of the day law enforcement arrived at the 1122 King Road home, but we haven't watched it together, and I would love to get your take on it. But I want to start with the fact that Bryan Kohberger's professor at WSU, this is the one that he was the teaching assistant for, the one he got into the altercation with, John Schneider. He is speaking out to say what happened. So I really appreciate him coming forward and saying what happened. So come on in, tell me where you're from. You can tell me country, state, planet, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. So Brad Pierce sat down with John Schneider to get his interactions, but also to have him understand what was going on with Bryan Kohberger from his point of view, because he was the professor that Bryan Kohberger was the teaching assistant. So he's described as a kindly older man who lives in my small town. He's what you consider a normal person. This is Brad Pierce writing this. A married homeowner who teaches at the local university. So that's WSU. He is also the professor that BK ultimately allegedly got into an altercation with. And an altercation, for those of you that don't know, is more than an argument, but less than a physical fight. So it would have been very, very heated. Now, John Schneider worked as a public defender for almost 30 years when he took the opportunity to teach students about the legal system instead of defending them in it. And he was feeling like he was nearing burnout in a demanding profession as a public defender. So we've come to know John pretty well over the years. This is his buddy writing this, not just because we live in the same town. My wife, Alexis, is his favorite bartender, but he likes going out for dinner with his wife, having a beer after work as much as the next guy. So there was a marked theme to John's happy hour conversation in the fall of 2022. His teaching assistant, so that's Bryan Kohberger, at Washington State University's Criminal Justice and Criminology Department he uses the word A and the word hole, who was driving him crazy. That's what John said. John Schneider. BK was driving him crazy. He said normal after work grumbling, one might think even in a high quantity, but he said that in November of 2022, when 4 innocent young people were done away with just 15 minutes away, John came into the bar carrying a newspaper and looking bad enough that the writer on this, his wife said, "What's wrong? You look terrible. You look like S and it." John held up the paper and confirmed that it was his teaching assistant, Bryan Kohberger. He must have felt terrible. He must have just felt awful. But this is what he says. He wants to tell his side of what happened. Because you know how a lot of us feel about WSU. I feel that way. So Professor Schneider has avoided the media since BK's arrest, but due to our friendship, this is John writing this. He agreed to meet me at the Palouse Caboose Bar and Grill, where my wife is a bartender, and some pitchers of beer, and his first, probably only in-depth interview about supervising teaching assistant Bryan Kohberger. So he graduated from University of Idaho's law school in 1988 and began working as a public defender. And he specialized in his legal career, saying criminals are more honest and easier to work with than people going through a divorce. He was also attracted to the field by his sense of justice and desire to see people who may have disadvantages within society be treated fairly by the legal system. So John doesn't feel like his career has given him any greater ability to sense evil than an average person. And as a professor, he had a high volume of students and couldn't get to know many of them. For those of you that have been to, attended college at a university, you know how big those classes can be. But teaching assistants are different. And in normal circumstances, John Schneider, Professor Schneider, would have worked with Bryan Kohberger very closely and extensively. So it used to be that professors, so this is really interesting. He wants you to know that he did not choose or hire Bryan Kohberger. And I feel like this is John Schneider trying to, clear his own reputation. So it used to be that professors did choose their preferred or potential teaching assistants from a list. But for reasons that he was never told, that he never found out, the school abandoned this system of hiring teaching assistants and randomized the process. So he was assigned Bryan Kohberger. He didn't choose him, but WSU did. When the graduate student came to introduce himself in the early summer of 2022, John didn't think much of him. He described him as being a little odd, but a lot of people in academia are odd. Despite the teaching assistant system being designed to prevent this exact problem, BK had scheduling conflicts and thus limited attendance in class, though he also often didn't show up when he was available. Now, we've heard from colleagues that worked with BK that he would leave work for them and wasn't doing the work that he was supposed to be doing, and probably, in my opinion, This is, some speculation, but I think it's because he was out, driving around, not stargazing, but he was hunting. So he was tired and he was missing classes and not doing his due diligence as a teaching assistant. So this is what Professor John Schneider says, and the frequency of his class appearances didn't stop. The infrequency of his class appearances didn't stop one female student from emailing a friend near the semester start saying, "My class's teaching assistant looks like a schmurderer." So a student saw it right away and emailed this to a friend. This is why WSU was not going to let this go to trial. But I think Professor Schneider wants people to know this. He didn't pick Bryan Kohberger, and it doesn't sound like he had a lot to say so, but let's hear his side of it. He says that he said he tries to look at teaching assistants' different individual attributes and put them to work where they will be the most useful while training them on their weaker points. In this instance, however, he said, quote, "Bryan quickly disabused me of the idea that I would get a sufficient amount of work out of him, and I quickly figured out he was a bit of a, he says, a douche. And within a few weeks, I realized this was going to be an exceptionally long semester." So he was having trouble, but it sounds like with Bryan right away. So again, it makes me wonder why WSU didn't go back through that resume, find the inconsistencies, because he did lie about the times and dates that he started and stopped work at various employers, including the fish filleting job, including the butcher shop, including the security guard job that he had. So despite BK missing class, the professors did see him plenty. He said, quote, "He rapidly developed the habit of coming in at the end of the day when I clearly wanted to go home," he says. So this goes back to BK's lack of boundaries that we talked about with Bryan Kohberger, right? Where he's, texting his father, "Why won't mother answer? Maybe mother doesn't want to talk to you. Maybe mother needs a mental health break from you." But he said he would start talking about inane, stupid, and immature things. So he's doing this at the end of the day when Professor Schneider is done. He's like done and wants to go home. He said, "I quickly realized this was a technique where he felt like he was in control as long as he was wasting my time." He said BK once tried to tell Professor Schneider how he was going to get out of a parking ticket, even managing to get him to examine the scene. And it turns out that the teaching assistant had parked next to a yellow curb in a lot where he didn't have a permit anyway. Admonitions that, in his experience as a defense attorney, people who believe they know the law better than the courts always fell on deaf ears. And so Professor Schneider says, over the time, BK would follow me down the hall, yapping, and I started calling it his terrier routine. Ooh, wonder, his yapping like a little terrier. So when John's wife was waiting for him at the car once, she saw BK following him and recoiled nearly to the other side, a reaction he had never seen from his wife despite many years of marriage. So it seems like the females were picking up on that something was wrong with this guy, including this professor's wife. So Professor Schneider had grown to hate BK over the course of the semester, but never thought he was dangerous. The opposite. He thought he was, yappy, like a terrier, and kind of a wimp. He learned of BK's arrest along with everybody else. He said he was in his office December 30th in a nearly empty building when the custodian told him that the police had the basement sealed off. They ended up walking to a picture board of department members, and the custodian started pointing at photos, speculating whose office the police might be searching. When the custodian got to BK, it hit him. His teaching assistant was the one who did away with Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana. And then Professor Schneider said his phone rang, and it was his brother-in-law told him that BK had been arrested. And that call was interrupted by his son calling, which was that call. So that was call number two. That number two was interrupted by the Moscow, Idaho police calling to set up an immediate interview. So he drove to Moscow, Idaho, which was just 10 or 15 minutes away, instead of waiting around for them to show up at his office at WSU. From the police, Professor Schneider learned that BK had a list of women's names. This is really scary, you guys. Learned that BK had a list of women's names of unknown purpose, although he is confident that it was not anything good. One of them was a woman he knew from the department. So was he putting together the list of his next victims? But overall, Professor Schneider wasn't able to help law enforcement besides describing Bryan Kohberger's character or lack thereof. Having worked with a Schmurderer was a system shock for Professor Schneider, even if he had always disliked BK. So he did not have any inkling about Bryan Kohberger, but he didn't like him and he perceived him as being a yappy terrier. So let's continue on. So I think he's trying to distance himself from WSU in this, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So put a pin in that. And then he's going to tell you his opinion on how long he thinks BK is going to last in jail. So we'll get to that in 1 second. The university standard trauma assistance program proved unhelpful. The support hotline, he listed every imaginable identity group besides his own, old white men, and said it could set an appointment in 2 weeks. So he's saying, this is him speaking truth to power. He's saying WSU standard trauma assistance line proved unhelpful. The support hotline that he had listed, also, the soonest they could get an appointment was 2 weeks. So WSU was not protecting his female students. This is what I've been upset about out of the gate, and why I believe that WSU was not going to ever, and University of Idaho was never going to let this case go to trial. And Howard Blum called it. He said the powers that be did not want this case to go to trial. He was right. So John Schneider says that the stream of graduate students and undergrads coming to his office to offer support was one of the coolest things ever. He must have felt awful. The department chair also transferred his own excellent teaching assistant to John for the next semester to ease his workload, and so there would be no more surprises. I bet John was not looking forward to getting another teaching assistant after that. He says the reality of the crime isn't what bothers him. It's instead someone studying criminology to become a better criminal instead of to pursue justice. He said it was the assault on why I would do what I do, promote fairness, promote justice, to find honor when there isn't any, to teach people to be decent human beings and to realize that life goes on, and to let people who had not experienced respect from the system know that the power to move past their trouble is inside of them. Most of the people he worked with throughout his career were in bad circumstances and needed help out of the abyss, but BK chose to dive into the abyss. This is according to Professor Schneider. So although this may be over for the public, those affected it will never go away, and a feeling of safety is slow to return when you learn that you have been in close contact with a monster. So this coming year is likely to be Professor Schneider's last year spent teaching, not just because of BK. He has been working to make a more just society since 1988, and he said he's tired. He's exhausted. He hopes that some of the students that he's taught over the last 10 years after leaving his job as a public defender can pick up the torch, and that none of them turns out to be the next Bryan Kohberger. As for his former teaching assistant, it is John's belief that being both extremely irritating and being physically weak, he does not believe that BK will survive to the end of his natural life in prison. And we've already seen BK yap, 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 like a little terrier, complaining about, trying to get himself moved off of J Block, right? So let's look at the crime scene let's look at the car. And then we're going to look at the body cam footage, but I want to look at the car photos. Because this is them processing. We wondered what this car looked like. Let me move myself out of the way. When they got it, well, now we know. We're going to look at the car inside and out together. So this was taken in for processing by Pennsylvania authorities, and the photo shows several views of the car after the interior was stripped for testing. So this wasn't the way they got it when Bryan Kohberger. It also appears to be sprayed with a white substance. This is probably to detect DNA or body fluids or fingerprints. And then we're going to listen to that recording I want to do that. We're going to briefly go through the car, but we're just going to go through this lickety split just to show you what it looked like when Pennsylvania got it. You can see the car's tagged. You can see the tag here on the rear view mirror. And then you can see where they've been taking the car apart. So the substance you see sprayed around was done by law enforcement. It was not done by Bryan Kohberger. But Bill Thompson described the car as being basically taken apart, meticulously cleaned, and with a bucket next to it. And you can see the white substance that they sprayed, trying to get, I'm sure they were trying to get fingerprints, DNA, whatever they could get. And then you can see the back of the car. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. I do want to do this recording though. So let me grab that next. So I just want to know if you guys think this is Bryan Kohberger. So this is from my head mod. Let me grab this. Okay, so this is a audio recording with a video, and a lot of people are wondering, is this inside looking? Because we're still trying to figure out, is inside looking and Papa Roger, was this Bryan Kohberger? So I want your opinion if you think this sounds like Bryan Kohberger or not. And this is courtesy of NJazz. I'm trying to see where she's at. There she is. Our head mod, NJazz. And I do want to say thank you to all of our mods. Thank you so much, Donna and Mike, for modding. If you're modding, drop me a comment right now so I can just see who's modding today. Thank you so much for modding. All right. So let's see. So if you guys think this is Bryan Kohberger, is inside looking, if you think this is his voice, put BK in the chat. If you think it's someone else, put in someone else. And there's Mike. Well, thank you for modding today, Mike. And Jazz. Thank you so much. Glad you guys are here. All right, so let's listen to this. So this is from NJazz, who found this, and I'm going to make sure, I'm going to do a volume check, and then we'll play it without interruption.
The quadruple homicide in Idaho.
Okay, just a quick volume check. Can you guys hear that? Yes or no? I just don't want to play the whole thing and then find out you couldn't hear any of it. Could you hear the talking? Just a quick yes or no volume check, guys. Yes, thank you. And Jazz, you're the best. Thank you. All right, so this is, let me put this in, start it over. I got the sound boosted. All right, so is this Bryan Kohberger?
I just want to let you know that I'm a relative of someone inside the investigation into the quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source. Again, this can only be considered a rumor as I don't have firsthand knowledge. I never planned on posting any of this information out of respect for the victims' families. However, now that one of the victims' fathers has released some of the gruesome details himself, I'd like to share some of the investigative theory. As you know, the two women were found in the same bed, but with similar wounds. That's what's being reported. That's not exactly.
Okay, so that's the voice on the inside looking. So now let's look at this traffic stop. Let me pull this up and listen to this voice. I'm just curious if you guys think, before we'll play the rest, I'll play it all the way through, but I just want to see if you guys think it's
police body cam video of Bryan. 4 college roommates. He just been pulled over for speeding.
Do you realize this is 35?
It's 35?
It is, yeah. So you go.
41.
Yeah, 43 is what the radar said.
The deputy notices that Kohberger isn't wearing his
Seatbelt when I stopped you? No. That's no good.
Right. Just being honest with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You guys are. There's absolutely no point not being honest.
The deputy.
Okay, so that part did to me sound like the same person.
Honest.
The deputy tells Kohberger he's getting a.
Not being honest.
The deputy tells Kohberger he's
Listen to that part.
You guys are, there's absolutely no point in not being honest.
Okay, so listen to that. Now let's go back to this.
100% true, at least in regard to the fact that they were.
All right, listening to it again.
I just want to let you know that I'm a relative of someone inside the investigation.
Is it him?
The quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source. Again, this can only be considered a rumor as I don't have firsthand knowledge. I never planned on posting any of this information out of respect for the victims' families. However, now that one of the victims' fathers has released some of the gruesome details himself, I'd like to share some of the investigative theory. As you know, the two women were found in the same bed, but with similar wounds. That's what's being reported. That's not exactly 100% true, at least in regard to the fact that they hadn't fallen to sleep in the same bed. One of the victim's wounds were deep gouges that were delivered with extremely aggressive force, so much so that the victim's liver and lungs were destroyed.
All right, I don't want to trigger you guys. Let me just.
They definitely think it was a man because of the force of the wounds. The person must have been very strong. They think the man came into the room after doing what they did on the second floor. They went upstairs. The person cleanly and quietly unalived the first victim. The second victim awoke and tried to run. They believe that the man possibly grabbed her, and she screamed loudly, apparently. The man then harmed her, and the reason the wounds were of such force, he was delivering it quickly and forcibly to quiet her, which I apologize for how I know it's disturbing, but anyway, how do we know that she screamed? Because 3 individuals reported hearing a scream between 3:45 and 4 o'clock. That's why the police have such a specific time frame as to when the murders occurred. Because I don't know if you noticed, but the authorities weren't called the next day until late in the morning, yet they had a very specific time frame when the murder happened. They think the scream is why. And after reviewing video files from the neighborhood, they reviewed security cameras in the area, and they have an audio file I haven't heard it, but I was told that you can clearly hear a loud scream from a female. That scream was recorded at exactly 3:38 a.m. Neighbors say they didn't call the police because they said there's often loud noise coming from the house. I was told that there are parties there all the time. Again, I don't know if that's true, but it's what I was told. The weapon used was a long serrated edged hunting knife with a fixed blade. The weapon had not been in the house. The person brought it with them and took it when they left. The 2 victims were on the same bed, not side by side. One victim was found on top of the other. The reason is that the one tried to escape and was grabbed, harmed, and then shoved and fell on top of her friend. That is why there's a lot of blood mixtures on this at the scene. They're also desperately looking for this white car. The reason being is that it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station. I don't even know what that is, but anyway, again, it could be wrong. I was just told it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station / hangout at 3:45. Now, if the scream was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame, but it is possible that the person left immediately and rushed and was seen speeding by. Also, the scream may have been what caused the person to quickly leave. That scream could have been what saved the other two roommates' lives. The person knew that they might be detected, so they sped away. Again, this is all just rumor. Take it for what it is. I just pray for these young people. I hope they rest in peace and that their families can find peace.
Okay, so this is, let me play this. See if I have the car. I have to let this ad play through. I don't know. Just give it a second. But I want to play Bryan Kohberger. Okay, now let's listen to Bryan Kohberger.
Hello, I am Officer Loangus. Stops being audio and video recorded. I think you know why I stopped you. You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so
I was
forced
behind
to
you
turn
the whole
left.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically, you're not supposed to enter the intersection at all for that reason, because if the light turns red, then you're stuck in the intersection, and then you run the red light. So that's the reason I stopped you. Do you have your license on you?
Yep.
So what do you guys think? Is this the same person? Let's see what you guys are saying.
Do you have the registration and insurance?
Let me just get this for you out.
You what?
I'm just gonna get this out for you.
Okay.
So would you explain that to me a little bit further? So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in their intersection, you have to make a left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done been?
Not-
Just
You're
back up in
not
that
supposed to
situation?
block an intersection like that in Washington. So just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation. And then then you're running a red light. So it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go. Because a lot of people do what you just did, right? Is like you're sitting in the intersection waiting and then turns and then you're blocking. So
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn.
Mhm.
So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
oh,
Did you see that?
no. Mm-mm.
Okay, so let's listen to the other one.
Investigation into the quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source.
Okay, and then this is the traffic stop. Okay, so that's that traffic stop. Okay, and then I want to just play this one for you. This is the other one. Okay, so that's the traffic stop, and then we go back to this. So I don't know, is that the same person? What do you guys think? I'm like, let me share this one instead. So I'm just curious what you guys think, if you think it's the same person or not. I'm just curious. And we're going to do the body cam footage next. Some of you guys may have seen this, but we haven't seen this together as a true crime community. So we're going to watch this together. Let me just see where you guys are at on this. Okay, we're going to go through that next. But let me see where we're at. I think it could be, and I think it's, and Josh thinks it's from, the choice of language. I think it's, the enunciation is similar. It could just be, from the same part of the area. He does speak similarly, but in some ways, I don't think so. So I'm just curious, wanted to get your input on it and see what you guys thought. Mike says, I thought he said it wasn't kind of weird though, hard for me to tell. My initial was yes. Chloe says it sounds like a faculty member, a little older, in my opinion. Trisha thinks it is Bryan Kohberger. Bundy Data says the way he stops and starts short sentences sounds like it. That's what I think too. I think it's I do hear it like when I'm like listening more in the traffic stop where he, from the August 21st, where versus the WSU when he's in the dark. Just the way he stops and starts and kind of goes into that kind of guttural sound, but it could just be a coincidence too. Patty said same tone as when he pled guilty. Yeah, he gets pulled over a lot. Donna thinks it sounds like him. Kathleen says it does not sound like him. So we got, this is easily solved. Gary says, I'm going to listen again to the word respect. That's about the only word I heard him say, but it does sound like him a little. I don't know. He exaggerates his S's. Space Junkie thinks it's him. Dion thinks it was him. Michael says, I'm not sure. Could be. Not a robot. They just found Emmanuel. They did. Let me pull that up. Let me pull it up. Let me just see if they really did find him, because I've been hearing reports that they've found him now for. I don't see anything that they found him. Let me see. Let me check. Because I've been hearing he was found, he was in a pond. So I'm just checking for credible sourcing. Looking for you guys. A glitch. Let me try refreshing it and coming back in. So sorry, you guys. No, it's just going to a different thing. No? Okay, obviously I'm having technical issues. I'm so sorry, you guys. I do apologize. I am very, very sorry. I chose that one because it has. How about now?
Do you know the?
Can you hear it now?
Okay. Here. Can you guys go over to the?
Could you hear it that when I played it that time? Nothing? Okay. Yes? Okay, you can hear it now? Okay, let's play it. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Dumpster for me, please.
Okay, good.
Okay, let's clear it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for. I'll just start.
If you listen, you can hear, sounds like either Bethany or Dylan, one of the girls crying in the background.
Police department. Police department.
They're clearing the house.
Lost the police department. If you're in here, announce yourself. Lost the police department.
You could see the patio doors are open. Right there, they're open. So that tells us the answer to that question. Did the perpetrator leave the doors open? It appears so.
Clear here. Going up there.
Third floor where
Police
Maddie and
department.
Kaylee are.
Third floor coming up. We got another. Lost the police department.
Dude.
Lost clear.
We're clear. Let me just secure the outside first. So.
Do the front door.
There's a back entry. I was going to start taping it all off.
Brian's taking the outside off.
Okay.
Where's the?
There's two right here. House is clear. I already got in there. Shut the door in there.
So they said they got the dog up there. So they shut the door. They closed Murphy in because they need to process the dog. And you can hear him just sighing, oh man, that this is just, you can just hear how hard this is for him. So the house is in this state because they had a party not the night of the 12th into the 13th when they were done away with, but the night of the 11th into the 12th.
Check with Prince.
And you can see the good vibes sign is on. So a lot of people were wondering, was it on? Like, how much would Dylan have seen? I think her bedroom was around here, so I don't know if it would have illuminated as much as we think, because the light is over here and it's on facing the other side of the wall. And Dylan's room is right. He's going into the kitchen. Her room is like right behind him. And you can see that patio door is open. And you could just feel how he's clearing the scene, but he's also trying to calm himself. It had to have been incredibly distressing for these police officers to come across a crime scene like this. And you could just hear him sighing over and over.
There's nothing else out there. Do you want me to go back there and start IDing people?
Okay, so he's going to go outside and begin interviewing people. And you can see you've got the girls out here, and basically they're in their pajamas. They're in little shorts and a sweatshirt. We have one long pants, long shirt. Maybe I'm assuming that's probably Emily, but I don't know. Looks like Bethany and Dylan they put blankets on them.
Thanks, boss.
I think in the khaki pajama bottoms, I think that's Dylan. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm so sorry about the sound issues. I do apologize. I'll cut that out. If you're watching this on the replay, it's going to take YouTube a little bit of time to process. I have to make a big edit because I played probably about 10 or 15 minutes that I have to cut. Yeah, the blankets are for shock. That's a good point, Girl Friday. I do want to say thank you so much to our producers, and Jazz, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Michael L. Cole, and Christy Valentine. Thank you so much for helping me get to 50,000 subscribers. Thank you to our channel members for helping me get to 50,000 subscribers, for supporting the channel. I really am grateful to each and every one of you, to all of you guys who are in the top chat, and all of you guys watching and who took the time to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. I could not have gotten to 50,000 subscribers without your help. To each and every one of our mods, thank you so much for helping me get to 50,000 subscribers. I'm really, really grateful. We're halfway to 100,000 subscribers, and my goal was to accomplish that this month, and we did do it. I certainly could not have done it without each and every one of you. I am really grateful, and just want to say thank you so very much for your kind and caring support of Reporter Room. We are a very close family. With the holidays coming up, please consider subscribing. We will be doing things together as a Reporter Room community. We also have a Facebook group, which is absolutely wonderful. I want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude for the last 2 live streams. I normally do this every one, but because I went live and gifted channel memberships, thank you so much. Because I went live so quickly on the baby Emmanuel Harrow case when the parents were arrested, I had not updated it. And I do want to say to Dawn Marie, thank you so much for being a channel member for 2 months. I'm so grateful for your support. And she says, congratulations on 50,000 subscribers. Awesome. Thank you for helping me get here. I certainly didn't get here by myself. Thank you to Michael. He says, congratulations on 50K. Thank you so much, Mike. I certainly did not get here without a little help from my friends, and you are one of them for sure. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. If you came up to the Chop Chat, NJazz gifted 5 reporter room memberships. Thank you so much, NJazz. That is so nice of you. And for those of you that don't know, Michael and NJazz are our 2 head mods along with Amelia. So thank you so much for that. Skylar, thank you so much for being, she's trying to tell me there's no audio. The one time I didn't check because I had checked it all 3 times and it seemed like we were good. And then we lost it on the audio. So I'm so sorry about that, guys. So thank you for letting me know, Skylar. And thank you for being a channel member for 1 month. And Njaz, oh my gosh, she says, congratulations to 50K. I wouldn't be here without you, Njaz. And you know that. And thank you for the 20 pounds. That is really, really kind of you. Thank you so, so much. So to each and every one of you who has taken the time, subscribing is free, who has taken the time to hit that subscribe button. With the holidays coming up, come on and be part of the Reporter Room family. We do have a really nice, kind, and caring group here on YouTube. And I would love to have you as part of the Reporter Room family. By subscribing and hitting the thumbs up button, it lets you the YouTube algorithm know that I'm doing a responsible job covering this case. And I will be editing out the no sound portion of the video. And for that, I do apologize. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me on our 50K and for being with me these last 2.5 years while we've covered the Bryan Kohberger case.